Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Magic Mics, proudly sponsored by CoolStuffInc.com, CardHoarder.com, Alter Sleeves, as well as Twitch subscribers and Patreon supporters just like you. I'm Evan Irwin, and we get started each week by saying hello to my two co-hosts, MTG Nerd Girl.
Hey guys, welcome back.
Ruben Bressler.
Hi, hello. I'm using a different camera this week, so hopefully it isn't terrible.
You're in you're high fidelity. We can see you.
It's a little awkward. I should deal with this unibrow.
Oof.
But yeah, this is why you don't use high definition cameras.
You know, the news industry changed quite a bit when the HD camera showed up. Now, if you missed our pre-show, subscribers to this channel get access to our NSFW version early, and we kick it off with our first pick and our giveaway. Get your chance at $50 worth of anything at CoolStuffInc.com by tapping !raffle in the chat. But subscribe first to get 2 chances to win and support your favorite streamer with your suggestions at the end of the show to see who we raid tonight. That is, of course, thanks to our sponsor, CoolStuffInc.com, where you can find cool stuff in stock every day. Wonderful company, I assure you. Our first pick here for the past couple weeks, because we were not here last week, is the Pride Across the Multiverse. This is the secret lair that I was not expecting, that just kind of came out of, I don't know if it came out of nowhere, but it certainly came by surprise. That Wizards made a product directly for Pride, LGBTQ people. Let's take a look here. Pull this up. All right, cool. So first look, Pride Across the Multiverse. Wizards proud towards inclusion and diversity in their games and whatnot. So they're introducing this, a celebration of the community's relentless creativity. And 50% of each Pride Across the Multiverse purchase will be donated directly to the Trevor Project. That is a wonderful organization to help out suicide prevention and crisis intervention for LGBTQ youth. And I love that. That's great. And hoo boy, it is. These are Magic cards. And I love them. And I think they're great and they're wonderful. How do you guys feel about this?
I think it's great. One of the things that I've loved the most, seeing the most from the community from this, is a lot of the token artists have made bear tokens that are just two like burly men now, which is great. I've loved seeing all of the new bear tokens that have been just flooding social media. It's fantastic.
Yeah, the drop itself includes a soul ring, which again has varying values depending on the people like that version of soul ring. Triumphant Reckoning, the Bearscape, which does feature bears, which is possibly one of the greatest Magic cards ever made at this point.
Yeah.
Alacia, who smiles at death, the Collective Voyage, Heartbeat of Spring, Mana Confluence, and Savor the Moment. As we were talking about in the pre-show, you know, for me, the money in this is the Mana Confluence. It's a $40, $35+ card. Savor the Moment hasn't been reprinted in, my God, almost 20 years. And so that's a $10 to $15 card. And everything else is like a couple bucks. But again, if they want to have the Pride versions of stuff, people will pay a premium for it, and that's where some of that value comes from.
Yeah. I think that it's going to be interesting for me to see how people want this soul ring, because the soul ring, I can't tell what it is from when it's on a Magic card. There are a couple cards that are like this, like the Totally Lost Fabulthip promos. It's like too detailed. And if you look at a larger version of this Soul Ring art, there's a lot of great references here, but it doesn't really translate to a Magic card. And so if there's other stuff available for that, that's probably going to be a better way to consume the Soul Ring. The Bearscape obviously is the piece de resistance, the headliner in terms of art from this collection, being bears, which is wonderful. But they also gave us a Ral and Tomic wedding ceremony on Savor the Moment. We got Alacia, who smiles at death, who's a trans icon in Magic the Gathering. We have Chandra on the Collective Voyage, celebrating on a Pride parade to at least, pay us off for the queer baiting that happened several years ago with the decidedly male Fiasco. And then we've got Huatli and Saheeli Rai on this Heartbeat of Spring, which are we discussing the story that happened?
Oh yeah,
written by Allison. That one depicts a very nice scene from that. And so, and of course, the Mana Confluence, extremely good translation of all of the colors coming together. I think that it's very good.
Yeah, I like the the Mana Confluence a lot. I think it, unlike the Soul Ring, really, you know, the other ones are depicting like the story versus like the Soul Ring and the Mana Confluence feel more like just being inclusive. And I think the Mana Confluence really shows that without that detail that you can't really see. So I like that a lot.
Yeah, the the story, A Note for a Stranger for Allison Lures, is absolutely fantastic and just reminds us how fantastic Allison Lures is at writing magic story. I absolutely loved it, and I recommend it to everyone, and it will make you feel things in a very good way, and I appreciate that. The
Secret Lair will also come with card sleeves for your MTG Arena card backs.
Yeah.
A lot of people really love those. And the arts for Collective Voyage, Alesha, Mana Confluence, and Triumphant Reckoning are going to be available as arena codes.
But no Bearscape? You couldn't give me
no
Bearscape
sleeves
bruh?
yet.
Bruh.
Yet.
Fine.
Just ask them.
Charge them. Charge me a
it.
premium. Fine. I don't care. Charge me a premium and tell me half the proceeds are going to the Trevor Project, and we good. I'm there. I'll give you some gems. Let's go. Like, that would be awesome.
Yeah, I also do want to quickly, I think that we've referenced the Trevor Project a ton on this show, and a lot of people reference the Trevor Project on their streams, but it is always worth repeating how good and how well their mission translates. It is oftentimes very difficult to find a charitable institution that is worth putting time and money into. It's difficult to know where to put your dollars. And the Trevor Project is absolutely top tier and has been for as long as it's existed.
So, unfortunately, with a LGBTQ type product and celebration, we also have some uncomfortableness where certain people in different countries were having problems accessing the content, at which point Wizards kind of came out with like their boilerplate response, which was not all of our content is available in all regions, ... And later tried to come out with a bit of a longer explanation, which somehow said even less than what they'd already said. That's just impressive. They noted that an update on the Pride Across the Multiverse Secret Lair drop, selling and communicating a product globally with an age rating of 13 plus comes with a variety of regional challenges. Okay. Sometimes that means we don't quite get it right on the first pass and learn and adapt as quickly as we're able. Okay. They're very proud of the work. Sure. We acknowledge the impact of our missteps on the LGBTQ plus communities in these regions and beyond. Really? Do you acknowledge it without explaining it? And actively taking steps to address processes to prevent such issues in the future, but they do not explain the steps or the processes. And then lastly, our goal is to share with as many fans as we can to celebrate the pride and our diversity, and we are excited to celebrate this work with you. 5 tweets and they said not a damn thing. Like, huh?
Yeah,
What?
that's annoying.
It just didn't say nothing. It said absolutely nothing.
I guess I would have preferred if they had said, like, some country. Well, first of all, some countries have laws, right? Obviously, I don't think that you're going to get to read the fiction if you live in Russia, right?
Right.
Like, that's going to be probably hard blocked. But as was noted, there are no laws against LGBTQ content in Brazil, for example.
Right.
And the content is still blocked there. I would have preferred something along the lines of, there will be backlash. We are hoping to mitigate the backlash. We are sorry that this is not available in your nation, but it is available and we can point you in a direction of how to find it. But it is the reaction may be worse than the action. And so this is a preemptive attempt to protect. It's not correct. It's not a good excuse, but it's better than what they did.
I mean, it sounds like a thing that lawyers wrote up. And when lawyers say a thing, that's the thing that you do. And I am hesitant, and I said this during the pre-show, that like, I don't want to be mad at them for making this wonderful project that goes towards a good cause. Right. And I don't think that there's any world where they were like, well, we could send it to Brazil, but I don't really want to make money from Brazil, so no. Like, there has to be a reason. They want to make everybody's money. They do not care. So that they couldn't do it. And for whatever the reason is, I'm glad they decided to. And I'm glad it's going to a good cause. And the alternative is to just not have Bearscape. And that's not an option. Right. So let's just buy extra and make sure we can give them to everybody who wants them.
Yeah. The alternative is this product doesn't get made, right? And we'd rather this product exist.
Right. Yes. And I do think, there's the rainbow capitalism. I understand those points and those criticisms, but at the same time, they are doing it for a good cause, not just rainbows for rainbows, and B, again, this wouldn't exist if it didn't have a capitalist element of some nature. These products will never exist. So I will take it and celebrate it while I can.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the time, rainbow capitalism is as a result of actual LGBT people wanting to make something cool from within where they exist. Mm-hmm. So I don't see this as rainbow capitalism. Mm-hmm. In the like,
certainly not the exploitive sense,
right?
The
exploitive sense, yeah. This is not exploitative.
If you go buy a rainbow flag from the store, 0% of the proceeds go to the Trevor Project. Whereas this is 50% of the sale price goes to the Trevor Project. That doesn't include, the other 50% goes to the artists, the production, everything else. So it feels like the bulk of this is going somewhere it should. And they did the same thing with the Extra Life Secret Lair stuff. Mm-hmm. In the previous years where all proceeds went to that. So anytime Wizards is doing this sort of project where they are donating the proceeds to a good cause, they do seem to be pretty above board about it. I mean, granted, it might just be a tax write-off for all we know. That's fine. But It is not just capitalism, I don't think.
I try not to be the most unbelievable cynic. You know what I mean? I like to feel like there's a little good in the world and we can do good for goodness sake.
This is good. This is a good thing. The fact that it's blocked in some countries, sometimes they edit sex scenes out of movies that go to China. It's the same crap. The world we live in is not the world we'd like to live in, but it seems like they're doing the best they can. They may have made a misstep when it came to the lawyer response, but all in all,
we're fighting the good fight. Right. We're doing good here, and I appreciate that. And we move out of our first pick to gather the townsfolk, thanks to our sponsor, cardhoarder.com, offering the best inventory prices and delivery of cards for Magic Online. It's a wonderful outfit. You should tell them that we sent you. They have some new Magic Online promos that they are revealing. Feel free to play the game of what do these all have in common, if you would like. But these are super cool. Let me get this window resized properly. And so you have a new history of Benalia, Mizia Mortars, Plateau, and Winds of Abandon to look forward to jumping out of treasure chests in the future. It's always amazing to me when they make new artwork for dual lands, right?
Right.
You're only going to use them on digital products. It just cracks me up. New artworks for reserve list cards.
I mean, I'm connecting the dots on some of these. I don't think I get Plateau. Did they just need a new Plateau art?
I think the artist of the first couple cards also did a version of Plateau, but they are swapping for a new one.
Is it just because we don't want... Are they all the same artist originally, or just different artists that we don't all want to be?
Just the same art. They're all the same as far as I
think that these are all the same artists that we don't talk about anymore.
Yep. Yeah. That we don't discuss. But it's, Wizards is making active efforts, spending real money. They didn't necessarily have to do this. They could just let these things just go off into the, in the beyond and not think about it until they actually reprint them. So it's cool that they are actively replacing stuff like this.
Yeah.
Which is
when I first saw this old bordered Mizia Mortars, I was like, why did they reprint Fireslinger? Because if you look at the art for Fireslinger and then you look at the art for Mizia Mortars and you kind of cross your eyes a little bit, they look like the same Magic card.
But look at the old border options that you have across these cards is awesome. Yeah. Old bordered Ragavan, old bordered Stoneforge Mystic, that's hot fire.
Yep.
Yeah. I don't know how I feel about old bordered cards that just have only brand new abilities. Like, I like old bordered Preordain, for example. I think that fits. I like old bordered Scavenging Ooze. That feels like an old bordered card. Old bordered Ragavan, old bordered Bolus's Citadel. These don't feel like they should be old bordered. But that's just me.
That just sounds like you're being too cynical, man. This is great.
I'm being an old man.
I want all the old border stuff. I think it's sweet. I think it's fantastic that Wizards at some point and in some meeting, they said, old border's awesome, right? And everyone was like, yeah, old border's sweet. And then they just went like all in and let's go. More old border stuff. I can't get enough. Fantastic. All right, let's see here. A bit of a sad departure here for one Bill Stark. Bill Stark has been at Wizards for a very long time. I want to say he was there for plus 10 years or so, something like that. If not longer, now that I think of it. But he mentioned that he was leaving the company. He's still available on Twitter at Bill Tries Again. This was Bill Stark from the Starkington Post. And if you know that reference, you're a real one.
You're real old.
As they say. But, it's been really sweet to see Bill Stark flourish, and he is responsible for the Event Link stuff, as I understand it, the most recent companion software and stuff that you use for tournaments. And so we wish him the best.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bill Stark was my first editor, my first Magic the Gathering editor in the history of me making Magic the Gathering things. And yeah, it's wild to see him go. I'm looking at his LinkedIn right now. 14 years at Wizards of the Coast.
Yeah, 2008. Wow. There you go. I mean, I was there through the Londis.com years and the Starkington Post years, and like it was hilarious. The Starkington Post in particular was an attempt to be kind of sort of like I don't know, what would you describe it as?
Tabloid. A
tabloid rag, right?
Almost.
Some rumors and some silly stuff and, some jokes and all that stuff. It was
not even a tabloid so much as it was like a Us Weekly almost. It was
about personalities
it was really the first big attempt at a culture blog. In Magic the Gathering, and it's easy to see why WotC snapped him up because, turning that into something that they could use as grist for the mill definitely was something that they needed at Wizards, was turning Magic into culture.
Well, I mean, and one of the things that I was doing back when YouTube was, just pointing the camera at the zeitgeist and being like, well, Magic's great. We're like, the cards are cool, but look at the people who play it. Look at this whole culture that we built around the game. That said, as we move on to Desperate Ravings, please check out our altar sleeves. Pull that up here. You can get support the show by using the code MagicMikes at checkout for 5% off anything in the store, including a set of exclusive sleeves featuring the Magic Mikes crew at altarsleeves.com/MagicMikes. Going here to some Ravens. Oh boy, Nerd Girl, why don't you go ahead and drive this bus and tell us a little bit about who's under the wheels.
Oh boy. Okay, so we had some issues. I've never really driven a bus on Magic Mikes. We had some issues a few months back with I Hate Your Deck. They got, in a little bit of trouble with the community. But that was not enough. They are now continuing to post videos of pre-recorded episodes from content creators who have asked them both privately and on social media not to post their videos because they don't want to be associated with the channel, to which they still continue to post them. And not only that, I Hate Your Deck and their producers are also just blocking people on social media who are saying that they do not want to be included in this. That includes people like Mana Curves and a few other really well-known creators, if you want to lead that, Evan, and show the tweets or anything.
Sure. I mean, we have what Rachel Weeks was saying that, it came to her attention. She was in another episode and messaged them on April 1st to explicitly note they don't consent in appearing, and yet they are appearing, which is unfortunate. No one signed anything, so it gets a little awkward and weird. And it's just, it's not great behavior, I think, in general. to kind of sort of run and hide and then block everyone from trying to reply to the tweets or trying to point out your behavior.
Yeah.
Blocking people is the worst. I think that is pretty scummy.
Yeah, to post something with people in it and then block them after they object to being put in it, that is very objectionable behavior. This is compounding an issue that already existed. Trying to find a generous way to explain this away is not really a thing I've had success figuring out. The explanation that I can come to, the only explanation that I can come to, is that I Hate Your Deck still wants to. It has these episodes, and they still want to make money.
Right.
Yeah.
But they're going to make money without the express consent of the people that are in it. That's not how content works, unless the contract situation is significantly different than has been stated on social media, at least. Can't do it. You can't release an edited thing like this. Blocking the YouTube videos to still get money off of them, blocking the content creators on Twitter. People are always allowed to go private on their Twitter. People are always allowed to curate who can see their videos. But the combination of things here is extremely bad.
Yeah. I think one of the biggest issues too is like, if you don't block them and you just make a statement like, hey, I paid for their travel. I've put hundreds of hours into editing and like, this is how I feed myself. If that was their post and they continued to publish them, even though the content creators didn't want to, I don't know if they paid appearance fees or travel. I did game nights and they did pay me travel to go. And like, if for whatever reason I didn't want to appear on their show after the fact, like I could see them still posting it should they have gone through all of the trouble to do all those things. I don't know if that's the case here. If I flew myself out somewhere, volunteered my time, and then didn't want to do the show, the least you could do is like, explain why without blocking me. What a slap in the face to the people who donated their time to you and to help you make content. Oh, and then you're just going to drag them down with you because there's going to be a number of people who don't do social media, don't know that you didn't want to appear on the show, and people who are still thinking that you went and filmed after this person.
All that came out, right?
Yeah, exactly. And then it's going to make you look bad.
Yeah, it's just kind of gross for everyone involved generally. And it's just not how you mend those bridges. You're burning them. And like, I'm sure you're cooking some great marshmallows, with those bridges you're burning, but then it goes away and all you have is nothing. Like, this content's going to age and then it's going to be done and that's it. Like
the icing on the cake is that the initial issue is that the Magic community is upset at him for not listening to people what they wanted in their consent. This is just doing that again, which is awful. And I hate that the videos, I did take a peek at the YouTube channel and they're still getting a ton of views. And I think that has a lot to do with just people who are not in social media and don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm sure they delete all the comments, from their comment section of people trying to let other people know.
And, this isn't the only sort of game or industry or whatever where this stuff happens. And there's plenty of times where you could be watching stuff and not know that the people in it were not happy that they were in it. And that's just kind of how some of the media is made today. And that sucks. But, for a community like Magic, we generally have a pretty good memory. We don't have a lot of goldfish memories of people who did really terrible things. Then they came back later and we're like, no problem, generally not.
He is going to have hardly any chance of getting new people on his show. And the people who do want to go on their show will then also be sort of blacklisted. It's bad news bears. They're like deleting these episodes would have given you a much better chance in the long run to continue having your show.
Yeah, I think that he knows that he's going to have to cut bait at some point. And so he's like, I'm not going to get any new guests regardless because of the chicanery that I've pulled in the past and the laws that I've actually legit broken in the past, at least allegedly. And so my choices are hope that the community forgives me and I can make content eventually again someday, or I just make this dollar now and then cut bait and never come back to the Magic community. And that seems like the plan. That seems like what's going to happen because MDL is from like he's not a Magic lifer, right? Like he's not one of these people that's always going to play Magic.
Right.
He's more of a Hollywood guy. Right. So he can get his bag in Magic, make sure that he gets what he can out of Magic, and then he's going to leave. Like, so he's going to squeeze this dry and then not try to replicate it anymore.
Like I've seen this happen. Like this is not the first time where someone from sort of the television film world has came into Magic, made a product, made a series, blew up, just crazy, hundreds of thousands of views. Everyone's gone nuts over them. They're the greatest thing ever. And then they come around and like, okay, we're ready for those sponsorship deals, y'all. $10,000 an episode. Let's go. And you're like, what? And then they realize it's either a lot of work or they just, they get distracted or they have another project and then they're gone away. I can't even remember the name of this outfit that I'm thinking of. But, again, 4 or 5 years ago, that's exactly what happened. The film outfit came out. They had a few funny episodes that they made about Magic content. It was like a sitcom type thing. And then they just disappeared into the aether later. I'm not saying anything wrong. I'm saying that, there's flare-ups and then they just go away. And sometimes there's flare-ups and they make big mistakes. And then it's just really awkward. And that's kind of where we're at.
Yeah.
All right. Let's move on here to, let me pull up the thing because I can't. So the Judge Academy came out with a statement noting that intentionally misgendering a person can be reasonably expected to create a feeling of being bullied or harassed. I wasn't sure they needed a whole statement on that, but if you're misgendering somebody, you're being a dick. What's wrong with you? Cut it out. There's no reason for it. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. I mean,
I hate to be that, but damn, y'all, what's wrong with you?
Right? Like, yeah. But I mean, it's good that there is an official statement because then they can point back to it and say they can tap the sign. But you're right. This is a self-evident truth.
Yep. I mean, anyone who's trying to pick that fight at a table is going to have a hard time. There are a lot of judges in the trans and LGBTQ community. Sorry, I was trying to get the letters correct in my head.
Sure.
And yeah, you're just asking for trouble. As a whole, I like to think, with the exception of that subreddit from the Secret Lair, we are a very accepting community, more so than I've seen in a lot of other communities. And that's very, very evident in the judge community. So yeah, if you are trying to pick that fight, you are not going to win.
Like, you see what you just did there? You tried, right? You're like, I want to make sure I get the LGBTQ. You know what I mean? That's what they always ask you to do. They're not expecting to be perfect. They just want to make sure that, you care enough that you try. And that's the whole point. And so, you can just tell the people who are doing it in bad faith, they do the misgendering and they have the one joke. Yes, you identify as attack helicopter. Oh, attack helicopter. You are just the funniest person ever. Congrats. That's all they got. That's it. And if you do that, you're bad and you're terrible and you should not be accepted. I don't know what else to say. Just try.
Ultimately, it is good that there is text that codifies it.
Absolutely. It is just a lot that it's one of those things you hate that it had to be said, but it was said, and you're glad that it's said, and we move on. Speaking of moving on to all sorts of fun stuff, the original artwork for Grim Monolith, ladies and gentlemen,
oh my God,
the OG. Can you imagine? This thing is currently up to $55,000 as we speak, and that's a lot of dollars. Do you guys ever think you're going to own original Magic artwork? I'm just curious.
I mean, maybe.
I tried. I contacted an artist one time. It was already sold.
Yeah.
I tried to get the Sea Dasher octopus, which I have a print of. I'm sure it would have been out of my price range, but I was really excited when it was spoiled. That's the only time I've ever tried, though.
There was an opportunity where I could have bought. I mean, I've had a few times where I was like, this piece of original Magic art is significantly cheaper than it should be. I've seen it at a couple shows that I was at for SCG where I was like, really? This is the original for a piece of magic art for less than $1,000. I was like, I think maybe I should buy this. Even though it's a card no one plays and it's an art that's like not super iconic. It's like, you know, and there were a bunch of people who, when we worked at SCG, that were collecting magic art at the time.
Yeah. And,
you know, anywhere between $800 to $5,000 pieces of art, you know, not anything like Grim Monolith, but it's art. Art goes up. That's what art does. Art's good. And so, you know, if you had told me that I could have bought, let me think of them. I think that Ricky Hayashi, if I'm thinking of the right, I know Ricky had a bunch, and one of them was like Stonework Puma, right? Which is just like a common. It's just like a, you know, a draft common.
Just a neat,
but it's
card.
still magic art, still original magic art, and $55K for Grim. I mean, man, I would love to have this Grim Monolith. It was Grim Monolith, again, Urza's Legacy, my favorite set of all time. A foil Grim Monolith was the first foil I ever opened in a pack when I was 13.
If only you kept it.
Did not keep it, sold it for $50 and could not have been happier. And yeah, I mean, this is history.
Absolutely. So this is one of those things where it's, you know, only a few people in the world get the chance or the ability to have a piece of original magic art hanging out.
With that said, I'd rather put a down payment on a house. But
I feel like I'd rather have a house or a car, but hey, when you got the cash to splash, you know, one of the cool things, it's nice to work from home these days, as I have been for over 2 years now, thanks, you know, for the virus and all. But one of the cool things when I was in the office was that one of the owners of Cool Stuff does have a bunch of original magic art, and it is absolutely glorious. So with that said, we will turn the corner here to the finisher, Ruben, unless you want to talk about either of the splash damage topics.
I mean, we can touch on these two. This Dragonlance and Spelljammer stuff is interesting. We talked recently about the D&D announcement day, D&D Direct. Among the announcements were a Spelljammer thing was announced, Spelljammer confirmed, and a Dragonlance thing was kind of announced. Not really any details, just sort of like a teaser trailer. Turns out neither of those products have the original creators on board as current creators for the products based on their work. This is not huge news to me. There was a big legal kerfuffle with Margaret Weiss and Tracy Hickman over Dragonlance, and then Jeff Grubb. Spelljammer's been around for forever. And also, writers change. Like, the original writers for D&D are also not involved. So it's not that huge. It's not that huge of a story, but it's worth noting at least that those creators are still out there. And then, of course, the saga that is the Hasbro versus Alta Fox debacle situation. I don't even know what this was. I saw it when it first came out, and I was like, I can't be bothered. But ultimately, Hasbro also couldn't be bothered and said, you can go F yourselves, and rejected all of their things and took their ball and they went home. So
took their ball and went home. Is this the shareholder? Is this where they were trying to get someone to go in on the board and all of that?
They want to get John
do
Finkel
like a
on
1980s style hostile, not takeover, but like hostile, putting ourselves on the board situation.
I don't understand why they thought that was going to go anywhere. Like, if you had full control of a company and your company had it, and then someone else is like, we want control and we want to do all of these things, and we would like to take over, please. The answer is going to be no. That just seems
right. And
normal.
This is where we talk about, you know, when you're $100 million plus in on investment, they'll listen to you. They won't give you what you want, and so they'll listen to you. And it was John Finkel, which is interesting. And we did sort of read how they're like, hey, Wizards should be its own company. Hasbro's dragging it down. The purchase of E1 Entertainment was stupid. Yada, yada, yada. And it's also where that comment earlier where I was talking about in the pre-show about Arena having multiplayer is they said that is a huge thing they should be doing because, again, that's the way most Magic's played. But again, this was just like, man, I understand they don't want it to happen, right? I get it. But it's really weird when you try to discredit John Finkel for not knowing what he's talking about.
Yeah, the response from Hasbro is actually a little snarkier than I would have liked.
Mm-hmm.
If you know anything about Magic, you know that John Finkel is not just a fan of Magic. He's been like managing a hedge fund for the last 15 years. So when Hasbro writes that John Finkel has absolutely no experience in leadership roles at corporate companies, that's a lie. That isn't true. That is just not true. So I understand Hasbro's take as being super defensive of Alta Fox's attitude. Alta Fox came in with a bad attitude.
Yeah. Right?
They were like, y'all need to do better, and we're going to do it because we're the saviors. And then Hasbro was like, slow your roll. No. And then Alta Fox was like, how about these people? And then Hasbro was like, no. But the way they said no was as a result of the short fuse that Alta Fox had in the first place.
Right. They came aggro.
That doesn't make the response better to saying that John Finkel is first and foremost a fan of the products. Like, it really shows a little bit of a lack of understanding of at least Finkel. I don't know the other people who are on this list. But
you know, there's always at times there has felt, this was many years ago, but at times there's felt where old school Wizards would be very disconnected from the culture and the events. One in particular that sticks out. Remember GP Mos Eisley, where this was like, what was it? It was in Iowa, I think it was.
It was Nebraska,
Des Moines, something. Anyway, and there's tons of theft, and it was a huge problem. And I remember at one point there, right after that event, I was, and again, this was many years ago, but I was talking to Wizards, and they had like no idea what I was talking about. We said something to the effect of, we want to prevent what happened at the last event where there was a lot of theft, whatever. They're like, what are you talking about? It's like, well, trying to catch them up to their own thing. Well, if they don't necessarily see Finkel as much anything if they've never paid attention to sort of the events and the, sort of the community of Magic, who knows exactly who he is and how awesome he is.
And also, you don't need to pay attention to the events of Magic to know that John Finkel is not
just a guy who likes Magic.
It's not just a guy. Like, it's not like we're putting just any old Pro Tour champion on this list. John Finkel is literally a hedge fund CIO.
Yeah.
So even if he was Johnny Magic, that's not the part of the resume that matters. With that said, Alta Fox's attitude was bad, and this whole idea was stupid. It's just this small other little thing was a little bit off.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like if you just check out his like LinkedIn profile, you'll see exactly that he's far more qualified than they're trying to give him credit for, certainly.
When rich people start arguing, it gets really weird sometimes. You're like, you people have hundreds of millions of dollars. Okay, tens of millions at least. Thanks, bye.
But all of this is to say that Alta Fox's idea was stupid to begin with.
Maybe.
And Hasbro kind of felt the need to be on the back foot and defensive. And they, responded in a manner in which I think I understand. Whether that manner is correct or not, I think is debatable.
Right. Like I was saying, they came aggro, Wizards came aggro back, and we're kind of left looking at it and laughing. So let's turn the corner here to the finisher. May the Force be with you, and happy Revenge of the 5th. This Star Wars week, I'm interested in what you'd be looking for if Magic the Gathering made a Star Wars expansion for universes beyond in a galaxy far, far away, Ruben.
I don't care about anything else as long as the unsung heroes of the trilogies get their due. The droids. C-3PO, R2-D2, BB-8, Dio, and all the rest. And I think that they should all have companion because they're all your best friend. And also, as droids, they're very often broken.
Nice.
Nerd
girl?
All right, the rule of 2 was a creed embodied by the Sith Lords, a master and an apprentice. So I'd love to see at least one pair of partner commanders, one with training and one with mentor.
Nice. Now, did you ever hear the tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise? I thought not. It's not a story the Jedi would tell you, but it is a sweet idea for a new saga. Ironic, I could save others from memes. but not myself. And if you do go to StarWarsTheGathering.com, there are entire huge expansions made by a fan group that you can print out if you would like to play them. And yes, it includes droids.
Nice.
And that ends another live episode of Magic Mike's. Thanks for joining us here to discuss all things Magic. Thank you, Nerd Girl.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Thank you, Ruben.
Hey, thank you.
Yeah, we're going to move on here to our final slide. I want to thank our sponsor, CoolStuffInc.com, our co-sponsors, CardHoarder.com, and Alter Sleeves, my co-host, MTG Nerd Girl, and Ruben Bressler. You guys for watching and listening. I hope you support us at patreon.com/magicmics. Please follow, like, tweet, favorite, share, subscribe to everything social that tells people we exist. Catch us online at twitch.tv/magicmics, our Discord, our Twitter at MagicMicsCast, our Magic Mics subreddit, and like the Magic Mics page on Facebook. Or join us here next week, same time, same place, for another episode of Magic Mics. Good night, everybody.